Hello, today we are going to install and use the operating system IBM OS/2 Warp, the latest version, which is version 4.52 from the year 2002. The IBM company allegedly still has support for this operating system, and this is how it looks like. It's an operating system that tried to be similar to the Windows offering when Windows 3.11 was available. OS2 resembled that. Once Windows 95 was released, then the look of the operating system OS2 has changed. The current look and feel resembles Windows 98. There's a panel, a taskbar at the bottom. There's desktop with icons. There's a time. There's context menus. There's Windows. There's a start menu, which in this case says OS to Warp, start application or open object. There's tooltips. Let's look through the start menu. An interesting thing is that icons exit a bit the background color of the selection. You can also see it in here. It's like the icons are placed 2 pixels higher than they should be. The operating system has support for TCP/IP, apart from previous networking protocols, and it has the Netscape Communicator web browser. Let's see how that looks like. It starts by showing a create new profile wizard. C:\Netscape\users. I don't know what the buttons in the window do, because the buttons do not have tooltips, so I'm not sure what this button does. But similar to the Windows operating systems, both in Windows 3.11 and in Windows 95, there's a title bar for Windows with the title of the window, but there's also this button, which in some operating systems is an icon, in others it's a I don't know, a minus icon or something, which if you click on, it shows the window title bar menu. So in here we can see that the way to close this message box would be pressing Alt F4, which is the same shortcut as Windows. In here, this icon is actually the application icon, but you can still click on it. So close Alt F4. Window list is a task manager, lists processes and windows, which you can then close like this. You start an application from its icon on the desktop by double-clicking. There's always on top support. The application Netscape is extremely similar to the first versions of the Netscape of the Mozilla suite. So similar to the current project SeaMonkey in the sense that it contains more applications into one. There's Navigator, which is the web browser, Inbox, which is the mail client, so POP3 and IMAP. Read Newsgroups is the NNTP client, address book, and then an editor for web pages, the application composer. So extremely similar to the first versions of the Mozilla suite. This is Mozilla suite I have used extensively. You can close a toolbar. Let's see how we hide toolbars. Just moving the mouse doesn't select another submenu. You need to actually click. You can switch between the web browser, mail client, etc. using the shortcuts Ctrl+1, Ctrl+2, Ctrl+3. You can see them in this main menu in Communicator. This is how the HTML editor looks like. No, it's not important to have an HTML editor. Actual end users don't edit HTML pages. These look for buttons, which is not 3D. I have seen it in other operating systems, maybe in early Java applications and in the operating system from Novell, the NetWare operating system. Do you want to save changes? No. I'm not sure how well support for HTTPS works in this web browser, but we certainly can try. How do we do that? Netscape and this server cannot communicate securely because they do not have common encryption algorithms. The versions of Netscape Navigator prior to 2002 did support HTTPS, but the way the initial connection between an HTTPS client and an HTTPS server, the initial shakehand that requires that both the HTTPS client and the HTTPS server use common cryptography for sending and receiving the pair of public certificates for HTTPS and to do the actual encryption. The spinner. Okay. I wish there was a tooltip when I hover on top of these icons such that I know what each button does. I'm going to guess this is the restore button. Where did you go? Where did this application go? Switch to another application. Maybe this is the way to switch to running applications. this 3 Windows icon button. So this, I would guess, is the minimize button. Then what does this thing do? Maybe the close button. So this with a diagonal line would be close, this little one would be minimize, and this would be restore maximize. Indeed maximize, and now restore. Okay. Window style, we can resize the window using all of the 4 corners and the border of the window. That's important. Let's maximize. So a maximized window can be moved around, which sounds like a bug. Double click on the title bar does what I would expect, so restore and then maximize. Close. Okay, let's look through the other applications. This is the desktop. DHCP client monitor. The about boxes, which don't have a title bar, cannot be therefore moved. Resemble Windows pre-95, so Windows 3.11 for workstations, for instance. And the look of the button also. It says in here 1997. Also, the look of the main menu of the application looks like Windows 3.11. There's a DHCP client built-in, which is important. Minimize. So networking works. I'm in a virtual machine. I have tried to install the operating system OS2/warp in QEMU Virt Manager on a Linux computer, and that did not work. So I ended up installing Oracle VM VirtualBox on this Linux machine, and I've installed OS2 inside the Oracle VM VirtualBox. So inside VirtualBox. Okay, then there are 2 subsystems inside of this operating system. So at the exterior, we have the operating system OS2. And then there's 2 additional modes, which is Win-OS2, which is an environment where you can run Windows 3.11 compatible applications. And then there's an environment for running Microsoft DOS-like applications. And something went wrong in here. I needed to reboot the virtual machine. It was hard locked. And when the computer has started, it has started check disk, which because we're not using a modern journaled file system, it took 2 minutes to scan. And now we're back. So let's see. Let's look through the programs. We have 2 versions of Java. One this application which we saw, which is the suit Netscape communicator, the subsystem win-os/2, which looks like this. It just starts as a window, an interface extremely similar to what you see by default in Windows 3.11. So there's the program manager in here. And including the window managing theme, the border of the window. So this is the menu that I was talking about. This is the title bar. As you see, the buttons of the title bar are totally different. This is just a minimize and a maximize button. Restore. On the left, there's this button with a minus, but functions the same way. Left click on it and it shows a menu. And there's some integration between these systems. So between the OS2 system, between Win-OS2 and the DOS system. For instance, in this case, we're in Windows 3.11. We've clicked on a Windows 3.11 button, and then we've clicked on this menu item, switch to Control Escape, which actually has started a OS2 window. So the subsystem Win-OS2 has started a window from the host operating system subsystem, which is OS2. Okay, I'm not sure what happens in here when I go switch to, and then I click on the Windows 3.11 application. The OS2 application disappears, including from the list of applications. Maybe this is just a meant to be a sub-menu, a model window of the parent window, and when the parent window no longer needs it, maybe it just hides it. Okay, so Windows 3.11 is Windows 3.11. The applications which come pre-installed in Windows 3.11, you have them here. There's a control panel. Let's go to date and time. It started the Windows 3.11 control panel window, not the OS2 one. The same for fonts. MS Calculator, the Windows Calculator application, which exists in all versions of Windows. This is how it looked like in Windows 3.11. And in About box of the calculator, we can see that it's actually the source code from Microsoft, not Windows 3.11, but Windows 3.1. So at Windows 3 time, there was this split in 1992 when Microsoft stopped contributing to the OS2 effort with source code and manpower. So this is the Wikipedia article on the operating system IBM OS 2. This is what it has to say about the breakup between Microsoft and IBM. It says 1990, not 1992. And that was between the releases of Windows 3.0, which was launched in 1990, and IBM OS 2 1.3. And it wasn't just IBM OS 2, it was also Microsoft OS 2. Microsoft was actually selling the operating system, Microsoft OS 2. It didn't just come pre-installed on IBM hardware. In Microsoft fashion, you could also buy it and install it on your random 486 computer. So Windows 3.0 was extremely successful. And OS 2 did not come pre-installed with any hardware. Did not have enough device drivers or non-IBM software, or non-IBM hardware. The thing is that both Microsoft and IBM collaborated. They had different software development organizations. They were all making code changes towards the Microsoft and IBM OS 2 common product. And then in the year 1990, Microsoft exited this endeavor. Microsoft still allowed IBM to use the software which already existed in OS 2, so the source code. That's why we can see the Windows 3 version of the MS Calc application available inside OS 2. And maybe they also had some agreements along the time where IBM bought fresher versions of the source code from Microsoft even after the breakup in the year 1990. Windows 3.11 was 16-bit operating system, so I'm going to guess that this subsystem in OS2, which is called Win-OS/2, is 16-bit also. The file manager, which uses MDI, which means that inside a window there are different sub-windows. Can we open those? Scrolling with the mouse wheel does work. This is the theming for Windows 3 applications with these arrows on the scroll bar. Let's look at a native application from OS 2. MS Diagnostics. I'm not sure which. Let's start. Escape again. The page editor. Yeah, you will see applications from 3 different subsystems using at least 3 different graphical user interface themes. Similar coloring, but then the radio buttons will look different, the scroll bars will look different and also behave different. The title bars will look different, the window decoration will look different, the shortcuts will be different for minimizing, maximizing, etc. And the third subsystem is the DOS one. OS2 system, command prompts, and DOS. All of these 3 subsystems see the same directory structure. So there's directories Java 11 language, MMOS, MPTN, and the drive is C:\\. The same thing in Windows 11. C:\\. And the same thing in OS2, the host subsystem. Now let's install in Oracle VM VirtualBox the operating system OS2. I have started VirtualBox. Let's create the virtual machine, new. Let's find the ISO. There's two ISOs. There's the boot and the install. So boot is similar to the floppy disks. We need to start from here. Okay. The defaults virtual settings for the virtual machine. So VirtualBox knows about the latest version of IBM OS 2, suggests that I assign only one CPU thread. Maybe the operating system does not know SMP, who knows? And then it suggests that I use 128 megabytes. We'll go with these settings in order to maximize our chances that the virtual machine can be created. Create a virtual hard disk. We'll go with 2 gigabytes and it's of type IDE. It's technology from the year 2002 and even before that. Let's look at the settings. So a floppy disk, optical drive, hard disk. PS2 mouse, not EFI but BIOS, one CPU thread, and storage we have IDE, not SATA, not SCSI, not NVMe, not anything else, SSD. So it's the 2 gigabytes storage for the virtual machine and the boot ISO. Okay, let's see if this starts. So the way it goes, it boots from the boot DVD. Once it's finished booting, it will request that I insert into the DVD drive the other DVD, which is the install one. So the operating system is loaded from the first ISO and the installer program is loaded from the second. Let's make things a bit easier to see. So in here, it says that I should insert the CD-ROM. I'm switching from the boot to the install one. And then I press enter. Right control keyboard key is the one that releases the mouse grab. Let's make things even larger than this. Okay, so let's see what it says. It contains bundled software such as the Java virtual machine, there's a Flash player, there's the Netscape Communicator web browser suite. Let's start partitioning the hard disk. Enter, 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 enter. Install a boot manager. Create a new volume. Create a volume that can be made bootable. D:, AA. Choose a disk to be used to create the volume. D. Allocate from free space. I keep pressing the enter key. Name for the partition. Size. And this is how it looks like. We have a DVD drive, the CD-ROM 1, which is mapped as C:. Then we have the ID disk 2 gigabytes D:, which has one partition. And we have a bootloader and a boot manager. And the partition is can be made bootable. Okay. Next up, so enough partitioning. Next up, let's continue installing. F3 to exit. Save the changes and exit. Accept the volume. Perform a quick format. HPFS is the native file system. The alternative is FAT. It's copying files from the diskette 2 and from the diskette 1. Let's pause for a second. Okay. What does it do? It rebooted. And now it's not booting from the CD-ROM because we have the install CD-ROM, install ISO in the CD-ROM drive. So it definitely did boot from the virtual hard disk. This is a continuation of the installer wizard. So country United States, mouse PS2, SVGA for the video, ID CD-ROM, no printer. Seems okay. The defaults are okay. We'll go next. It installs APM, Advanced Power Manager. Next. United States, next. No printer. Generic VESA. And in here I can select what features to include and which not. REXX. Command reference, this would be equivalent to manual files. And REXX is the scripting support. Fonts. In here we have support for Unicode fonts, which is great, the year 2002. I don't need extra fonts, but you should definitely install these. For instance, if you will make the web browser work, you definitely need all of these. System utilities. System components. Journaled file system. So it seems that HPFS has journaling support, which is similar to the jump from ext2 to ext3 in Linux. No printer. OpenGL. Solitaire. Mahjong. There's the subsystem for DOS, the operating system Microsoft DOS, disk operating system. There's the subsystem for running Windows 3.11 applications, so 16-bit Windows applications, not the well-known 32-bit Windows applications from Windows 95 and newer. So Windows 3.11. Accessories would be applications which are available in Windows 3.11, such as the Microsoft Calculator. Next, in here we have a different theming for the buttons. I'm just going to press next, next when it asks for text that I should input. So we want support for real networking, which is TCP/IP Ethernet, not the previous protocols that were used by Windows 3 and by MS-DOS and by Novell NetWare and IBM OS 2. Okay, I'm not sure what this thing is. So this is Netscape Communicator. This is a web browser, mail client, and HTML editor. Seems like a good selection. And now I'm going to go through all of these. So it has Ethernet. It knows a network manager, online book packages. Settings for Tivoli, settings for the Netscape navigator and communicator. In here, I need to enable the DHCP client. I want to not specify IPv4 settings inside the virtual machine. The virtual machine should actually ask for the virtualization software for a DHCP lease. Okay. What are these? File and print sharing. And user ID for the administrator. But it says that it's for file and print sharing. Okay, so the user is a must-have. I'm going to go with admin. Install. Okay. So it's copying files. the equivalent of the top level directory c:\Windows. In here is :\OS2. Constantly improving customer satisfaction with the products and services we provide. Okay, let's pause for a second if nothing interesting is shown. Your system will restart shortly. Okay, so the installer needed a reboot. We're booting from the virtual hard disk. We still have the install ISO in the CD-ROM drive. IBM PCI Ethernet adapter. NDIS, that sounds familiar. UDF is, I'm not sure, for the ISO, for the CD-ROM probably. So the installer wizard continues. More business talk. Dynamic and interactive e-business combines the broad reach of the internet with the vast resources. Traditional information technology systems. 100% business bullshit. Private intranets, shared extranets, public internet. Wow. Maybe there's an OS2 warp, which is the desktop operating system, and then an OS2 server operating system. It says that the installation is complete. Rebooting again. It went all the way to start the desktop environment, but it's still not finished the installer. So let's see what we can choose in here. Additional options, Java 1.3, 65 megabytes, Java 1.1.8, 40 megabytes, IBM web browser, Java required. Let's select all. Macromedia Flash Player was bundled with Windows 98, and seems that it was bundled also with this operating system, the newest version of OS2 Warp. Install. Insert the installation CD in the CD-ROM drive. It's already installed. Yeah, maybe it's a second install ISO, so you might need 3 ISOs in total: the boot, the installer for the installer wizard, and then another ISO with additional software. Okay, so this is how the operating system looks like by default. I'm not sure about these colors. It used to look different. Okay, so let's see what we have here. At the bottom, we have a panel similar to the Windows 95 one. There's a start menu with a start button. Let's first try to change the screen resolution. How do we do that? From the settings, OS to system, system setup, system, screen resolution by default 640 by 480, 256 colors. Let's go with the hugest from here. So 3 by 4, I'm going to guess. Aspect ratio 1024 by 768. And this is probably, I don't know, 32-bit color or 24. I'm not sure if it has alpha or not. Okay, says that it's instant apply. There's no apply or OK button. And the changes require a reboot. So let's restart. How do we do that? Not sure. Right click on the desktop, shut down. Okay. Do you want to close? Yes. And now it says that I want to press Ctrl Alt Delete. Like this. This is the boot manager, which allows you to boot from different disks. Okay, so the resolution is way better. Let's see if we stretch a bit. Let's make this thing full screen. And zoom a bit. Okay. Let's see what else we have in here. There's the concept of OS to Windows and DOS Windows. Hide button versus minimize button. Long menus and short menus. Alt-tab switching window. Okay, so this is a window, a graphical user interface window, and it's using the subsystem OS2. We can recognize that by the title bar because it has these icons for closing this one, the one with a diagonal line, and to maximize and restore. So maximize is a large rectangle, restore is a small rectangle with two vertical bars, close is the one with a diagonal. The applications are available in this list of applications. Switch to another application. Desktop is always running. The volley endpoint is a command line application. And network messaging is a graphical user interface OS2 application. You can also recognize OS2 applications of Windows because of the theming for the scroll bars. So the scroll bars have these vertical lines. When you press the scroll bar, it becomes not raised but dented, and then the scroll up and down buttons are rectangles, not squares. Let's see what I'm talking about. OS to system. Is it Win OS to Windows? So this is the Windows 32 subsystem. And in here, the buttons of the scroll bar are rectangles, whereas in here, they're in OS2 are rectangles, and in Windows 3.1, they are squares, and also the different icons on the scroll bar buttons. And the scroll bar has the same size, and it's really small on Windows 3.11, whereas on OS2 the scroll bar is pretty long. And when you press on the scroll bar, it doesn't go in depth lower than the rest of the bar, like this. Okay, the title bars are clearly different, and the window decoration, the border of the window is clearly different. So this is clearly Windows 3 type borders with a color, and then these vertical and horizontal lines at the corners of the window. And then the minimize button is different from this one. And there's no close button in Windows 3.11. And the maximize button is half an arrow pointing upwards. Okay, so the intention here is that there's a Windows 3 subsystem with the required minimum applications and the program manager and the file manager, such that you can from there on install your own existing Windows 3 applications. So these applications would probably be applications specifically created for your business, or if you're using the IBM OS 2 operating system in order to create a ATM, automatic teller machine, then you might have your ATM graphical user interface software actually written for Windows 16-bit, not for Windows 32-bit. This is how the title bar menu looks like when you left click on the button. The menus are clearly different, this versus this. Okay, and then the last subsystem is the DOS one. So from the OS2 start menu, OS2 system, command prompts, and then you can have a DOS full screen or a DOS window. This thing. And these are also available from the OS2 main toolbar, because there's this icon by default in here with command prompts. The exact same submenu as this one. And then drives, the same thing as this button. Printers and system setup. System setup is this huge menu. System activity monitor. disk space monitor and using external power for laptops. Shutdown button and locking the screen probably. And then there's the clock. So by left clicking, you switch from the display modes. There's the time, the date, and then the timer. Assistance center. Okay, so you can install either Microsoft DOS operating system applications. You will have them available in here, or if you want in full screen mode. All of the types of applications see the exact same tree structure. So the same drive, in my case D colon, with the same directory structure. And you can also, there's DOS software that you install from the floppy disk, but you just insert the floppy disk on the hardware computer and copy the contents of the entire floppy disk to D colon /. That's all of the install procedure. You just copy everything from disk A to D colon /, and then from D colon / you just start it from here, from the DOS command prompt. You can see the D colon / Netscape install directory. There's no program files directory. There's a special directory for the operating system, which is D colon / OS2. And then the rest of the software just installs in D colon /, like Java 1.1.8 and we're going to look at the biggest software package available in here, which is we close these things. Close. Do you want to close? Yes. Netscape Communicator, we have an icon on the desktop, and it's also available in the start menu. So start menu programs Netscape Communicator 4.6.1, and then you select one of the applications. You 99% of cases actually want this one, Netscape Navigator, which is the web browser. So next, 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 and finish. Okay, netscape.com, I'm not sure if this server exists. And if it exists, it certainly doesn't serve using the protocol HTTP, just HTTPS. Let's close this window. And let's see HTTP server. So this tells us that the web browser Netscape from the year 2002 is good enough for HTTP. Probably not the best one for JavaScript, and certainly not the good one for HTTPS. So if you want to actually use the web browser in OS2, then you're going to hit the problem that I have allocated just 128 megabytes of RAM to the virtual machine, which for a web browser is totally nothing. And then you will require a web browser that's both graphical and supports the operating system IBM OS 2 and is not random access memory intensive and supports the latest and greatest HTTPS certificates and cryptography and algorithms and hashes and everything. So this is it. This is how you install and use an operating system that was last released in the year 2002, IBM OS to the latest version. Thank you.